Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Somnath. Hi, Juhi. Hi, Darshita. Hi,
Hi,
Meera.
Nam. Hi, how
Hi.
are you? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm
I'm
fine.
feeling much far better. So, how was your week?
Yeah, good. Was busy.
Okay. Busy. So, the entire week was busy.
Yeah, we had guests in our house, so it was quite busy.
Hmm. Okay. So, where are you working?
I think currently I'm not working.
Hmm.
I'm at home resting.
You can, don't worry.
Actually, I have my own institute in my native. Currently, I'm
Hmm.
in far from there for my kids' studies.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
my staffs are managing there. I'm resting right
Oh,
now.
okay. Okay, okay. So, then you are working. So, why you are saying I'm not working?
I'm managing, just managing. That's it. I'm not working and
Managing is
relaxed right
also
now.
your work.
Yeah,
That is the most difficult part than working.
maybe, but my staffs are quite very supportive. So they didn't
Hmm.
put any pressure on me. So just kind of relaxing right now.
Okay. Hi, Dashita and Juhi. So, how are you? How was your week? Hi, Sridhar.
Ah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
We have to say good night for you because it is midnight there.
It's a good morning then for me.
Good morning, early morning.
It's early morning, 12:40. It's now 2:10.
2:10. That is what I told. Midnight now. Heavy
Yeah.
snow outside. Heavy snow outside.
Now it is far better than last week.
Okay.
Last week it was around 6 inches,
Uh,
32
now,
centimeters or 34.
now
Now
comparatively
it's
better.
comparatively it is far better.
uh, from hottest place to coolest place. Andhra is burning, na? Hot place.
But everybody's laughing at me at this age, like coming to US and studying for another course. So
Uh,
everybody is teasing me that now you're going for studies to US. I said, yeah, I'm going to US.
yeah, I may also go. Still senior to you, no? Your
That's
age.
what I said. That's what I said. There are so many role models for me. People are still learning. People are not understanding anything.
You are quite young. Yes, it is
No, I'm
nice.
not quite young, but still,
Yeah, young at heart.
but
That
younger
is
than
important.
you.
Young at heart. That is important.
That's more important. I agree. And as I said in the beginning of the session, most of my classmates are always of your age. And I get more inspired looking at them like, why? Oh my God, they are even studying at this age, and I'm not doing anything like you people. Because
Uh,
right when I was in, after completing my intermediate itself, I started seeing you people writing examination for ICWA and CA and those
yeah.
stuff. So I used to be surprised in the examination room, like looking at them, like why these people are writing at this age. But then only I understood learning goes on.
Yeah. In US, you find at the age of 80 also some people are studying. You find
Not in US. I have studied my ICAA and CS both together in Vijayawada.
Vijayawada.
So
Oh,
yeah,
acha.
at
Ah,
Vijayawada. So
ah,
then at that time they used to assign the center for examination.
yeah.
So so that center would be in another place. So when I used to go there, I used to see a lot of other people from different places. So then I used to see the aged people who are still writing their examination for CA and
Yeah.
ICAA, not for
Yeah.
CS, but CA and ICAA. Then I
Vijayawada
used to be
Besant Road is
surprised.
my favorite location. Besant Road is my favorite.
I have studied in supervis for ISW and CS.
That road I told, Besant Road is there. Hotel
Yeah,
Mamata
Besant Road
and
is there.
Hotel Radha Krishna. Hotel Mamata and Hotel Radha Krishna.
I'm not aware of that.
That
Hotel Mamata.
Kanakadurga temple, at least you are aware. Prakasham
Yeah,
Barrage.
that I'm aware.
Kanakadurga temple.
That I'm aware.
Yeah. Nice place.
So you people are more inspiration right from that time, from beard and my
Yeah.
psychology,
Yeah.
all the other stuff. People are learning.
Yeah. So you are also from other field, entered the psychology field. From ICWA, CA, you come to field of
Yeah, after
psychology.
ISWA, I got married and then unfortunately I couldn't continue my studies. So then I shifted to psychology.
My one friend, he is a ICWA. He was in bank. He left the bank and he had done post graduation in psychology and he practicing counselor in our here Shumaga, and he wrote lot of books and he is a columnist in
Okay,
one of the Kannada main weekly daily. He writes. He is a columnist also. He wrote already
okay.
3 books. 3 books he wrote.
There's a passion for. I think most of the people write the books. That most
Yeah,
important thing for in the psychology to write the books.
yeah.
So, but I didn't. I didn't till now.
I wish you to do one such thing. See, there
Thank
are
you. Thank you
people.
so
You
much.
have a lot of people in Andhra. Pattabi there.
Yeah,
Pattabi
yeah.
that. So very good. I
Whatever.
read lot of books of him. Very informative and
Yeah, there
encouraging.
are so many people
Yeah,
even in Hyderabad.
yeah, yeah. So really nice to know such things. They are the people who
Ju-
encourage me. Pattabi, I read lot of books of him. Very nice books. Very
Yeah,
interesting reading.
right. So
Sorry,
hi Garma, hi Amini, hi
who's the author?
Darshita.
Sorry, I missed all the fun. Who was the author, sir? Sridhar?
Pardon?
Who was the author you guys were sorry. Who was the author you guys were discussing on the books?
Patabi
Pattabi,
Raman
Pattabi
Pattabi
Raman.
Raman.
Yeah.
Okay.
is a motivational speaker.
He has his own office and he's a
Yeah,
psychologist. He's a chartered accountant turned psychologist. I
yeah.
remember he
In
was
those
practicing
days,
chartered
he
accountant
was in the
and
yes,
yeah, he left that
he
profession and
started.
he's a full-time writer now. He has
Yeah,
a
he wrote so many
yeah,
books.
yeah, very interesting. Money
Right,
matters. He wrote a few books. Very interesting. How to make money. One book is there. Yeah.
right. Hi Garma, Juhi, Darshita. Please turn on your video so that we can start our session. So we are
Yeah.
already late.
Yeah.
So how was your week for the last? How was your last week?
Okay, fine, ma'am.
Oh, good. Hi, Darshita.
Hi,
So how was
ma'am.
your last week? Hi.
Fine, ma'am. Yes.
Nice, great. Okay, Juhi, no problem. So how was your week, Yamini and Nagrima?
So my week was little very tight because I was running here and there. Have a lot of things to do with my job, and frankly speaking, I did not have time. I didn't have time to go through what we learned. Yeah,
No
and 2
problem.
days I was not well
It
too.
goes,
Yeah,
it happens. It
yeah.
happens.
So,
Sometimes
like,
it happens. We can be so dedicated.
And I heard something that people were teasing you when you went to US to do this course, right? I
Yeah,
heard that
not
conversation
this
somewhere in the
goes.
background.
Yeah. My friends' team, they were teasing me like going and learning at this age for US. When I was talking about the climate and everything, they were teasing me. Then I said, there are so many people to inspire me. Don't worry. That's what I'm saying them.
that's very true, ma'am.
There is no end date
Yeah.
for learning and
Because after
getting a
some
knowledge.
age, we are also occupied in some other way also, no? It
And
happens.
leaving the children and coming to US is at this age is like a little bit difficult task for everyone. But still, I made it. That was the problem now.
Your child are not with you. They are in India.
They are in India. Yeah.
Oh my
My
God.
entire family is in India. I'm alone here.
Oh, How they will be managing?
Yeah, that's what the
That shows
problem.
woman power.
Very
That shows
difficult,
woman
no?
can do anything.
Yeah, because
There's no
family is
age barriers.
oriented. Yes, yes. We are the
That's what
pillars.
the problem. Now the question, now the eyebrows are being raised because now I have taken a big step to continue my course, right? That's the problem.
Because they will not
It is
survive.
not a problem. It is the solution for the problem.
Let's see if I go ahead with a big, so many certificates carrying,
Yeah.
then maybe.
No, definitely it is an opportunity that your family should be proud of. Your children should be most proud of because mother at this age is so much interested in studies. That is an
They are
encouragement.
proud of, but the society
Yeah.
will think in the other way. That is the
No,
problem.
society we can't help it.
Yeah,
We
that's
can't
true.
help.
But
Yeah.
just for fun, they were teasing me.
Yeah.
I said,
Ma'am, in
that's
social
okay.
psychology, we understand that how society interacts with the individual, the influence of individual on society and influence of society on the individual. You are the
And now
persons.
today we are learning the same thing.
Yeah, you have to. Our influence on society, we should be a persons rather than society influencing us.
True, true, true.
You can take lecture one day, sir. Sir,
Right.
definitely. You
Okay.
have a huge
So,
experience and huge knowledge.
yeah, he is there in the same profession, right? So he could explain much far better than us with the live
Yes,
experiences.
and he is experienced person also.
Yeah, true. So we have completed 4 days, like
Yeah,
almost 2 weeks, right? So how was
yeah,
your journey for the 2 weeks? Is it going good, or do you have any other doubts, or how it is going on?
fine,
I
going
I
well.
know, Sridhar, you
Yeah,
it
only
will
thing
be fine for you.
we could not
You don't.
be keep pace with these things because homework could not attend. We could not revise the things like a student in the college
Oh,
or high school. So there are things, but with all that it is fine. It is good.
Yeah, okay. So any other like others, like how you are able to are you
yeah,
able to follow the course, or do you have any other doubts, or how it is going on for you people?
Actually, I just want to know how to write the case study. That's what my problem is.
Okay, so I'll help you out in that, no problem. But one request is from my end is just go back and read that psychodynamic once again, because
Yeah,
that will help you to recap the entire stuff. Then only you can prepare a case study. Otherwise it is very difficult unless until you don't understand what is the judgment, I mean, the ego functions and um, defense mechanisms. You can't write a case report, case format, right? But
And
I'll show
you
you
said
the I'll
okay,
show you the example, like I mean sample for the case format. I think
okay.
last time we are running up with the time, so I didn't finish it up. I have not shown you, I think. Have I
No,
shown you?
no,
no.
No, right? Okay, I'll show you today the case
Okay,
format.
and then you said to write the script, right? Saturday,
I
I
said,
think, to write a script on a dream.
dream
So
analysis.
I just yeah I don't know how to write it, like a story or what. I was confused.
It's like a reframing. See, for example, um, you got a bad dream, and a client came to you and he said he's so suffering, he's so much worried about those bad dreams, right? And he's not able to come out. Then the dream can be in the form of sound, in the form of images, or in the form of physical symptoms. So how, depending on that, so whatever the case study I've given, I'm not sure whether it is in the form of images or sound or physical symptoms. So for example, if the client is having a physical I mean image form, then being as a therapist, you will make the client first in the relaxation mode, make the client to think, to replace those images with the bad images to the good images. So at that point of time, when you're making the client to image from bad to good, there will be statements. What kind of statements will you use for a client
Okay.
to imagine a good image at that moment? So that is what the script I told you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you
Okay.
have to write that script, because whatever the script you are, whatever the statements you are using at the initial phase itself, the client has to feel more comfortable. So your script will be different, mine will be different, and everybody's will be different, because everybody is unique here, right? So that's what I said. Write your own script. How do you make the client feel more comfortable, and how you will implement this dream uh, analysis process, interpretation. That
Okay.
was it. That was the
Got
point,
it.
right? Okay. So
Yeah.
now today we are
Got
talking
it.
about behavior therapy. So this, I think, everybody's know about the behavior therapy. If not, then it is okay. But out of these 4 classes, what is the main goal of a therapist for all the therapies? Forget about behavior therapy, but whatever the therapies listed in the course. So what is the main goal of the therapies,
To change their behavior.
right? Change their
Make the
behavior. At the
unstructured
end is to
thoughts
change
into
their behavior,
structured
right?
thoughts.
Pardon, Dashika.
Make the unstructured thoughts into structured thoughts.
Right. So ultimately, see, whatever the thoughts, it starts with the thoughts, emotions, and ultimately at the end, there will be a behavioral change. So
To solve their problem by
ultimately,
their own.
yes, solve the problem by their own, but ultimately at the end, we will change the behavior of the client, right? So because of those emotions, because of thoughts, there will be a change in the behavior. So ultimate goal is to change of the thoughts or the change of the behavior, right? So in the behavior therapy also, the same thing goes on. But in each therapy, we will consider the past experience. But in the behavior therapy, we will not consider the past experience. We will focus on the present experience, present behavior change. What is the present concern at this moment of time? Yet, but sometime we will consider the past also, but not completely. So we will focus on the present behavioral change. So that is the behavior therapy, right? But in other therapies, we will dig, we will find out what is the root cause of that problem, what is the root cause of the thought process, and what is those emotions arised at that moment, and what is the cause in the for the behavioral change. But in the behavior therapy, we may not dig so perfectly, like so much deeper into the past life experiences, but we will look into the present behavioral change, right? That is a behavior therapy. And in this behavior therapy, the main principles work on 3 principles. One is classical conditioning, one is operant conditioning, and the other is social conditioning. So let's go one by one, then it will be much far better, right? So this is a main origin of behavior therapy. So in this therapy, this is an action-based therapy for any change. In the behavior therapy is always an action based that looks to change the positive behavior, change into the positive behavior, right? No, in the other therapies like psychoanalytical and psychodynamic
Ma'am,
or
your
even
voice is
CBT.
breaking.
My voice is breaking. Is it clear now?
Yes.
No, it is clear, madam. It is clear. Here it is clear. I think there may be some problem with that receiver there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now your voice
So
is clear. Sorry.
it's okay. So in the behavior therapy, as I said, in the other therapies mainly focus on the past, but in the behavior therapy mainly focus on the present. What is the current behavior and what should be changed? But at few certain things, in a certain behaviors, it is required to go into the past, but not completely, right? That is the behavior therapy. And these are the main three principles of behavior therapy. One is applied behavior analysis, cognitive behavior therapy, and social learning therapy theory, right? In this applied behavior analysis, we use two kind of learning process. One is classical conditioning and one is operant conditioning. So we will discuss in the further what is classical conditioning behavior and what is operant conditioning behavior, right? And cognitive behavior therapy is always an integrated therapy combined with behavior and cognitive. Cognitive is nothing but your thought process, your memory, your thinking level, intellectual level, added with your behavior. So in the cognitive behavior therapy, you will learn how your thoughts are being how your thoughts are changed. So we mainly focus on the thought process rather than on the behavior. So if we change the thought process, then automatically your behavior can be changed. The social learning always revolve around the nature, that how does the environment will be focused on learning, or a change in the behavior, as just now Srira we discussed, right? So social learning theory, so it always explain how an environment will affect on our behavior. That is social learning theory. These are the main three principles or disciplines we use in the behavior therapy. Any doubt?
Yeah.
No, right?
So
No, no.
So
psychodynamics,
yeah.
psychodynamics and psychoanalytics is based on the past. It's focused based on the past behavior, right?
Right.
Behavior therapy is action based and focused on the present behavior. So like how
Right.
we focus on the past for psychodynamics and psychoanalytics, what kind of a therapy is it? Like this is action based, and what is that based?
Mhm.
Psychoanalytics and
That is
psychodynamics come
psychological
under.
psychodynamics comes psychoanalytical and psychodynamic comes under psychological principles.
Oh, okay.
Psychological principles. So why? Because in psychoanalytical it's dependent on the conscious and unconscious mind, how your mind works. It's a neurological based principle. We can say it's a neurological based principle, because psychoanalytical is always focused on three kinds of mind: conscious, unconscious, and subconscious mind. So how these thoughts are, how your mind is working, how all the images captured using your five senses, what is this process in information is being processed, and how that is being changed, and how those thoughts are being affected your behavior. That's how psychoanalytical and psychodynamic is working. And in that we added the your personality, how your personality is also influenced on your behavior. And that's where we discuss psychoanalytical and psychodynamic, how does your mind works, and how along with the mind, how does your personality, I mean ego functions, are being influenced. That's what in the psychoanalytical and psychodynamic. And the behavior is completely action based.
Okay, okay. I've understood. I've just made a quick note so that this can be a differentiation. Yeah, thanks a lot.
No problem. Right, and this is the main principle, and this behavior therapy completely works on these three principles. One is classical, operant, and modeling. So what is classical conditioning? Can anyone tell me what is classical conditioning? Can anyone do anyone know that? I think Darshita and Amira, Juhi, you people can tell me. Sridhar, Sridhar Ram.
Ma'am, it is really important topic for me. I think, ma'am, modeling, I know that the things that you can do the things visually, which is the correct thing, and you are giving a good example what should be done. And for modeling, I think that is the thing. Then classical, I think what is should be done religiously, and the second operant condition means what is the deviation is there. I think so.
Ma'am,
Okay.
classical conditioning is a process in which a previously naturally existing stimulus is paired with a neutral stimulus to get a reaction. The condition
Agarima,
then
your voice
to
is not clear. Your voice is not at all clear. Okay, let me explain classical conditioning. So, classical conditioning in one word, we can call it as automatic learning. So, Pavlov has discovered this classical conditioning through an experiment doing on a dog. So, there's an unconditional stimuli, conditional stimuli, neutral stimuli. So, it's again a big topic. But classical conditioning is called as automatic learning. In this learning, they discovered that whatever the learning you are doing it repeatedly, like if it is going on repeated and repeated again and again, that will become your conditioned response, that will become your behavior. So from this classical conditioning they have discovered so many learning styles from the classical conditioning. So for example, chunking method, and there are different learning style methods from the classical conditioning. Apart from that, if we consider on the behavior, uh, we can say if you are having a good response from one particular event, and that is followed the same kind of response from the second event, that is classical conditioning. So if it can be said as automatic learning. So whatever you learn, if it is done repeatedly, it will be your conditional response. That is classical conditioning,
Ma'am, I think
right?
there was a Pavlov's experiment with dog, like at the same time bell was ringing, and there is a gastric juice secretion in his stomach. So, and
Yes,
every time after
the
that he
experiment was
becomes
done on a dog, right?
like,
The experiment was done
you
on a
know
dog.
that, no?
Hmm, true. The
Okay.
experiment was done on a dog. So when the experiment was done, it was known that even though if there is no food, listening to the bell itself, the dog starts salvation, right? Salvating. So that is a condition, neutral stimuli. So so why I'm not using all those neutral, unconditional, conditional stimuli, because Amni is very new to this topic and she will be getting confused if I use those conditional, unconditional stimuli and everything. So in shorter terms, I'm saying it in a normal language. Classical conditioning is always a repeated learning process. So if you, for example, let me explain with one best example. If you are having a fear of dog, right? Once you have experienced a dog bite, and repeatedly whenever you see the dog, you will have the same kind of stimuli in your mind, and it always creates a fear in your mind. So that is classical conditioning, because once you have experienced a fear in your mind, and that will continue, go ahead. So it's a kind of automatic learning. So without your intention. So that stimuli has been occurred. And this operant condition is always focused with uh, reinforcement and reward system. So mostly any kind of behavior, whatever the behavior we have, it's dependent on the reward system and punishment. That is operant conditioning.
An example for that,
Mm,
operant conditioning.
it's very simple. It's very common behavior for the operant condition. Like if you are working in an office and if you are always appreciated with an you are getting an appreciation on your work, so you keep motivated to work again and again and again, right?
Normally in the house, children's when they want to do homework and mothers say, if you complete this homework, I will get you this and that. This is what the normal reward that.
That is for children. Even for the
Yeah, yeah,
adults and children,
yeah, yeah,
everybody, their
yeah,
behavior is being reinforced and rewarded.
yeah.
If
That
it is believed that
concept of
if you are, yeah, the concept of
concept
operant
of
condition is
token economy. That was the concept based on this reward system.
reward system. So what
Yeah.
the basic principle of operant condition is, your behavior is being strengthened by positive rewards or reinforcement, positive reinforcement, and it is weakened with the negative reinforcement and negative rewards. That's the
Yeah,
basic principle of operant condition.
yeah, yeah, right. Very nice.
So the example of that operant condition is simple. In the especially in the offices, whenever we are having any kind of reward system in the office, that if you have completed the task by the end of the week, every week we have some token system, or we have some appreciation, or we have some gift cards
Ma'am, I can
that will.
give a one living recent examples now how in industry that is applied in India. You
Mhm.
might have seen a few years back in the Life Insurance Corporation of India has introduced a scheme of that lunch coupons. They have started giving lunch coupons, and condition was all all working days in a month the person should put his presence in the office before that office hours. 10 o'clock before, everybody had to punch their attendance. So one day if he miss also, that month lunch coupon he will not get. That is how it was enforced,
Right,
that attendance is made and discipline is brought in, that members are present in the office before the office hours starts. That is the best example we
right,
can
absolutely.
think.
So anything, it can be anything, like any kind of reward system in the workplace. If I'm talking in the workplace, any kind of reward system will strengthen your behavior or motivate your behavior. So that is operant condition. If you apply for the kids,
Yeah,
if they be,
yeah,
if they want, if the kids are not willing to
yeah.
have food, they're, if they're not liking, or if they're not if they're not eating at all, then using this principle, you can say those kids that if you eat a little quantity of this food, you will be given reward of an ice cream along with this food. If you complete this food, I will offer you an ice cream. So that ice cream is a reward for the child, or a reinforcement for the child to complete that food,
So now
right?
in marketing also people are using sales and marketing lot of things. You see, if you buy two, you will get one free for complimentary lunch in a hotel when you stay there. Complimentary breakfast they give, like that. Some amount of encourage this to fall in line. They do something.
Right.
Yeah. In marketing they use lot of gimmicks of this.
So this, so in this classic, now coming back to classical conditioning, as I said, is a temporal association. When two events repeatedly occur close together in time, they become fused in a person mind. So when two events repeatedly occurs close in time, they become fused in a person's mind. And for the long and before long, the person responds in the same way to the both events. So if the two events are repeated, occur very close to the close to the time, the person responds in the same way for both the events. If for example, if one event is having a response of joy, in simultaneously the other also brings the joy as well, because the classical condition is temporary. So it's an automatic learn. If two events are occurring at the same time, this what kind, any kind of feeling or emotion is being carried for the other thing also, right? So this
Basically, this
classical, uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
basically a
Mimi.
classical condition is a reflection. So a person
Yes,
being positive, it is I mean the opposite person also will reflect the positivity. If it is negative, say likewise, same.
it's not about the person or
No, no,
anybody
no.
else. It's all about ourselves. It's all about ourselves. It's not about the other people. It's all about the event. That's what for example, that's what I'm saying, that whatever the experience you've had at that moment repeatedly for the two times or three times at the same time, So that feeling will be fused in your mind. For example, in today's schedule, you had 3 to 4 events which has given you a great joy, and later on that you are upset. Your events are not going good. You are good from the morning to afternoon. That entire day, that 4 hours or 5 hours were extremely high level of joy you have experienced. And after 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, your graph is going down. You are experiencing very bad level. But these joy experiences will be carried forward, because the whatever the feelings you have experienced from the morning is an extreme level, and that is carried forward for the next events also. But the basic principle of classical conditioning is here: when you are having a repeated behavior on a particular event, it will be fused in your mind, and that will be a conditioned response. So even though there is no that event again, but your response will be same. That's what I gave you, the fear of dog. So you had only one time, one situation with the dog, but that was fused in your mind all the time. Whenever you see the dog, it is continually, repeatedly, you are having that fear. And so that fear has sat in your mind.
Yeah.
The situation was only for one time. So the dog has bite you only one time. But the fear, whenever you see the dog, repeatedly occurred. So that was fused in your mind. That is classical conditioning, right? Got it, Amini?
Normally, we can use this for change of habits and other things. These techniques can be
Right.
used
Yes.
for a person
For
to
the
get
habit
new
formation.
Autism.
new habit formation.
Yes.
Persons to leave some
Right.
bad habits. We can use this technique so that we can
Not only that, it's a completely classical conditioning also can be done for the learning styles. There are
learning.
different kind
Yeah,
of learning
yeah,
styles.
How?
yeah. You are right.
Learning
Yes,
styles from classical conditioning.
yeah.
So you
Right.
can teach the memory skills from the classical conditioning actually.
Yes.
We
Right.
have memory skills also here. So if we see the behavioral therapy in the classical conditioning, we use these techniques to change the behavior and for the behavior modification. And the classical conditioning, there are three kinds of therapies. One is flooding, one is systematic desensitization, one is aversion therapy. These are the three techniques we use for the classical conditioning, right? So any other doubts? Juhi, Agrima, you people are silent.
Ma'am, in autism also I have seen that this is used that immediately a child do the same thing, even if, for example, we have gross motor imitation task. Immediately a child does the same thing, you give reward. Immediately, within a seconds. We are not in a 2-3 minutes also we are spending immediately. There is a
Right,
reinforcement, each response immediately or reward something.
true.
So that
What
you
about
can show
Agrima
that
and
joy
Juhi?
is continued in both the process, and definitely after some time child will enjoy both the things, reward as well as doing action.
Right. Okay, Juhi is too noisy. Right. And why the other people have turned off your videos, yeah? Is it boring?
Ma'am, I'm just having a lot of network issues
No,
today,
ma'am.
so I won't be able to switch on
Okay,
my
okay.
It
video.
is actually very interesting and very useful in practical sessions, I think.
Yeah.
I
It
should
is
have went to
useful
attend
for
the
real
door.
life.
Yeah, these
Okay.
sessions, these topics are
Because I
more
have
in
done this
our use,
before doing
daily,
business
our use.
also,
This
then
is
at
helpful.
that time also I have done these things.
Okay. So the first technique we are talking about systematic desensitization. So this is mostly useful for phobias, OCD, and sexual disorders and anxiety disorders, right? So the procedure of this systematic desensitization is 3 steps.
Ma'am, please
One is
take.
relaxation. Pardon? Is it audible for everyone?
Yeah, audible.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
very clear,
Okay,
very
okay.
clear.
Okay. So the three main steps. One is first, the first step is relaxation training, and the second
Ma'am,
step is
please share a brief slide also.
what what do you see?
Yeah,
Okay.
first was flooding, second was systematic desensitization.
Systematic third
We
is
have not
aversion
discussed
therapy.
we have not discussed the flooding. We have gone to systematic desensitization.
Systematic desensitization. I'll let
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So the systematic desensitization is having three steps. The first step, initially, whenever you're handling the client who is having a phobia or fear or OCD or any kind of anxiety disorders, right? So the first step, whenever you handle those clients, the first step would be relaxation training. You can use any kind of technique to relax the client, make the client relax. Because why do we make the client relax? Because they have the anxiety level, right? So when they are having the anxiety level, the body symptoms will be very higher. The physiological symptoms will be very higher. So to control those physiological symptoms, I mean body shivering, heart palpitations, right, body aches or nervousness, or headache, to control all those things, the first step is a relaxation training. And the second step is an hierarchy construction. What is this hierarchy construction? So hierarchy construction is nothing but, for example, if the client is having a fear of a dog or fear of a spider or anything, right? So we will build a hierarchy construction by taking the information from the client. What is that level the client is able to uh, face that challenge? For example, the client is having is able to recall the if I ask the client, for example, the so many people we have seen, they're afraid of cockroaches, they're afraid of spiders, lizards, or something like that. And the people, if they see the cockroaches in the kitchen, they just jump from the kitchen to the outside and they never enter into the kitchen, right? We have such kind of clients. So when you are having those clients, not only cockroach but anything, it can be like OCD. Let's think OCD. They have the fear of cleanliness, right? So if they have the that problem, they don't go to the untidy places, right? So for such kind of people, hierarchy construction, right, lists down what are the stages of that person, at what level he is. So the rating of the client. So for example, look at the spider. What is that rating? And next level, whether he's able to recall. You will take the ratings of that person. And during this process, this hierarchy construction, you will choose from the lowest score. You will choose.
Yeah.
For example, the client has given touching the spider or touching the cockroach. He has given the scoring of 90 or 70. So you will not start from that. So you will start from the lowest score to the highest score. So ultimately, the hierarchy construction is the therapist has to start the process from the lowest score to the highest score. And in the therapeutic process, you have to write the hierarchy construction, this process, after every 3 therapies. So you have to identify what is that level. For example, you are doing a therapy on first 2 levels, looking at the spider or looking at the image, thinking about the image of the spider. So after 2 or 3 sessions, you have to take the score of that images, score of those 2 statements again. So the hierarchy construction is being taken again and again. So your therapist has to build this hierarchy construction. Next,
Ma'am,
desensitization.
how they will judge these things?
Pardon, Dashita?
How to judge these things, ma'am?
How to judge?
Yes, ma'am. That that we are doing desensitization of the stimuli, right? That first we have identified the anxiety, that the patient has anxiety for cockroaches, right? Then we are taking 3 sessions. So, and after 3 sessions, we are mentioning then how we can judge these things that how the anxiety has
Okay, you
able.
are asking me how we can analyze
Yes,
that they have
yes,
overcome that problem, right? It's not
yes,
about
I think.
judging. We can't judge over
Yes,
there. It's all.
yes,
It's
yes,
about to identify how they did overcome the
yes,
problem,
yes.
right? So how did you realize that the person is having a challenge on those two steps on the initial phase?
That patient is telling no that they have anxiety for these things.
Right, patient is telling,
Eh,
and the score is taken by the client itself, right? And
yes,
being as a therapist, you will understand, as I said in the previous sessions also, any kind of anxiety or any kind of challenge, if a client is having, the first uh, challenge will be from your physiological symptoms. It will not start directly in your brain. It starts from your body. So the body will give you a lot of responses when there is when there's a challenge in anyone's life. It's not only anxiety. Even if you are having some challenge like some tensed or you are worried, then your body starts reacting immediately rather than
yes,
your thoughts,
yes,
right?
yes.
So the
There are also
physiological symptom,
physiological symptoms. Yes,
yes, the body symptoms plays a very important role. So while you are analyzing, right, while you are taking the analysis itself, the first you need to identify, the first part is you have to take the analysis of the body symptoms. What kind of
yes,
symptoms he is facing, and what kind of challenges he is having at that moment. Depending on that, you have to raise the questions to construct the hierarchy level, right?
first there will be change in physical symptoms, and gradually there will be change in psychological symptoms, right?
See, everything starts with the physical symptoms. So what kind
Yes,
of physical symptoms he is having at that moment when he's experiencing that anxiety level, right?
yes,
After anxiety, again, he will calm down. That body. See, always the challenge will be more if they have more physical symptoms.
yes,
If the challenge will be less intensity, if they have less body symptoms. So if a person is
yes.
having anxiety and if his heart palpitation is more higher, then the client will not able to tolerate that heart palpitations. He
Mm,
will forget
yes,
about the anxiety. He will be worried about the heart palpitations.
yes,
And that
yes,
is dominating over there, right? And that
yes,
domination will make the client not to control those anxieties. So that, so initially that pain has to be reduced, and then only we can um, look at the anxiety level. So initial phase, the body symptoms plays, we need to identify what kind of body symptoms the client is having, what is the intensity level, right?
ma'am,
So
can
depending
you
on that
please,
intensity level, you can analyze the next step.
okay, ma'am, can you again show that slide before that one, that, that I
No,
have
I
to.
didn't start it. I just explained the
No,
three
this
steps.
systemic, before systemic desensitization, there was one slide.
This is only just
Yes.
I gave three techniques: flooding, aversion, and systematic desensitization. I will
What
explain
is
each
this?
and everyone. I
Okay,
will
let us.
explain everything.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I will explain. So
Ma'am,
these
what
are the
is
three
flooding,
steps.
ma'am? What is
I will explain.
flooding?
I will explain. I will explain.
Okay,
I will explain.
okay,
Next
okay.
step.
Sorry.
No problem. Right. So in the first step, the therapy starts with a few interviews, taking the personality questionnaire, as well as what is the patient history, what kind of anxiety is having, right? As I said, the patient is first trained for relaxation, and then hierarchy is created. The patient is taught to have a deep relaxation process, and then desensitization sessions is always to visualize the least intense item and then relax completely. And this process will take it for 10 to 15 seconds, and then patient imagine himself. This is the process of this technique. As long as the tension produced is less than the relaxation response, then the symptom will be less. So after this relaxation technique, several sessions, the patient should be able to visualize that stimuli at the highest level. So you will start from the least score to the highest score. So in this process, while you are conducting this therapy, the main thing is relaxation, imagining it, I mean desensitization it, and then again relaxation, and again desensitization, and and slowly you will reach to the highest score of the highest level of the anxiety being aroused. So these are the 4 steps of systematic desensitization. So I have given you the examples here. In the first step, the therapist teaches the patient relaxation skills to relax in all the ways. And the second, the hierarchy of the patient's fear is being constructed. So I will show you the hierarchy construction image also. So what kind of image the client is able to visualize, what is a mild anxiety scene that creates a fear in his mind. So always the fear starts with a mild, no, with a higher level, it directly will not enter into the higher level intensity. So it starts with a mild level intensity, right? And then the third level begins with the patient relax, imagines, and then relax, and then imagine. So that is step by step you are cutting down. Whenever the client experience more intensity level of anxiety, then again you will make the client relax. Again you will make the client to imagine. So these steps goes on, and till the client is able to face the higher level intensity. So this process will not happen in 1 or 2 sessions. It will take a number of sessions until the client is able to overcome this challenge. And then the fourth step, the therapist encourages the patient to confront fear. So in the real life, the um, therapist will make the client to face the fear in the real life. This all this the 3 steps is in imagination world. Now the fourth step would be in the real life, right? Got it? This is the process, and this is the relaxation training. And as I said in the first step, we have to see the physiological signs. What is the slow heart rate? I mean, what is the symptoms? And then cognitive signs. What is his mental image? And what is his behavior change? I mean, whether the patient is able to pay the attention, or whether he's having a verbal interaction or not, or he's able to voluntarily change his position or not. So you have to see all these things in the relaxation training, right? And this is the hierarchy construction. So in this hierarchy construction, see, if you see here the behavior, think about a spider. So the fear rating was 10. Look at the photo of the spider, is 25. Real spider in the closed box, 50. So in the step by step, you have to make the client to overcome the fear. Forget about the spider. If I give you a challenge, if a child is having a fear, stage fear, and the child is not able to have, he's not able to talk in front of the audience. He can't step on the stage. What is the hierarchy construction you will prepare? Just imagine. So I gave you another example instead of spider. If a child is having a stage fear, forget about the child. Even we are having a lot of fear to stand in front of the audience and talk in front of the public. We get that anxiety, right? So how do you overcome this? What is this hierarchy construction do you make?
First would be think
Stand in
about
front of their friends or family,
Mm-hmm.
and
No, I'm
then
not
speak.
asking the technique. I'm not asking the technique. I'm asking the hierarchy construction.
think
So I
about
think
the
this can be
I think we
your
should take physical symptoms also along with anxiety for rating.
yeah, that all those part are okay. I accept you have to take the physical symptoms analysis, relaxation technique. But this hierarchy construction is very important because you have to make the client overcome step by step fear. So if for example, if you are having a fear of talking in front of the audience, what would be the steps? When will your fear get started?
Thinking
That
about a
is
moment.
hierarchy construction. If you understand very clearly, when is your fear gets started from that level to the highest level, that is your hierarchy construction. So imagine
Think,
yourself when your fear gets started.
okay, so first will be like think about that particular conversation or think about that particular meeting. Thinking about that
Particular.
meeting will be my thought. Say suppose I'm allowed to give a speech or I'm allowed to give a presentation in front of 50 odd people. So
Mhm.
thinking about that will be my first fear, which is 10. Okay.
Right.
Then
So that will be your
imagine first one.
first
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah. So
So the
imagine
hierarchy
or look
construction
at,
will be different for everyone. It is
right.
different for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Thinking
So
that
what's
what I
your
need
next
to
step?
present. Next will be thinking
Right.
what I need to present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will be second.
Imagining, yeah, imagining that I don't have, the presentation is tomorrow and it's coming close by. I'm not still prepared mentally or even PPT wise.
Right.
And then PPT is prepared, not aware what points do I say, because preparing PPT and giving out the lecture is two different things. I have to prepare for that. That will be the fear. Say suppose, and the next one will be everybody should turn on the cameras while presenting. So I should also be basically
Mm-hmm.
turning on the camera. So that will deviate my my eyesight or maybe something which is like stopping me
Mm-hmm.
to be more confident.
Mm-hmm. But these are the steps which it's not creating fear. These are the steps which is running in your mind. The first two steps are correct. So when you hear about there is a presentation, after 10 days, your fear gets started. So that is correct, right? And the second, when when you come to know on the particular time, or when you come to know there's so many audience, like as you said, there are 50 audience, you have to face 50 audience, then your fear gets more stronger. That will be
Yeah.
second point, right? And the
Mhm.
third point would be um when the date is coming closer, right? And the fourth will be imagining the audience in front of you. Fifth will be stepping on the stage or sitting in front of the laptop. I'm talking about on the stage, right? We are not talking on the online. We are talking about the stage, right? So standing on the stage, that would be one step. And then standing in front of the podium. Some people will have the problem with the mic. For example, if you ask me, I can talk without a mic. I can't talk with holding a mic.
Okay.
Initially, they used to give the mic to talk, right? Now they are
Mm.
putting it in the collar mic, but previously we have to hold the mic. That is the biggest challenge for me. I can't hold the mic and talk. So that
Mhm.
creates a nervousness for me. So these are the steps. So now you understood, right? What is hierarchy construction? How you should ask the client. So
So in
when
this
does
case,
the
what will
fear
be the
get
closest? Sorry. So in this
the
case, like,
highest
what
would
will be the
be
closest? Mhm.
standing in front of the audience and giving the speech, delivering the content.
So always it need not to
That's
be that we have to have our fear parameters to 10. It can be, 5 or 6 based on the scenario.
yeah, it can be a n number of questions. It's not, it doesn't start from 10. It
Okay.
can be anything. But the
So say,
point is like whenever you have that fear, when does that fear starts is your first question, first step.
so hierarchy construction is done on the moment. Like for instance, like one of the client is coming and they have
Mhm.
stage fear. So after listening to their concern only, I have to prepare at the that particular
Yes,
moment, right?
yes.
So
Mhm.
I should be quick enough to analyze and prepare this.
Yes, Because once the client comes to you and he said that he is having anxiety and he's not able to have a good performance in his work, and he's not able to give a training programs, which he has to. He has that challenge, right? If he is an
Yeah.
architect, or if he is a
Yeah.
trainer, if he is not able to
Yeah.
face the audience, because he's very new to the profession, right? Even though
Okay.
he's
Okay.
having a qualification, but still he doesn't have that experience. And it's not only that person, everybody will have that experience. Some people they overcome and some people they don't overcome. That becomes a challenge for them, right? So then you can start this hierarchy construction. But the simple funda is here: when does the fear starts is your first question.
Okay. Got
That
it.
is hierarchy construction, right? Got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now this is desensitization. In this, again, the same thing. The you will desensitize each step, relaxation, and then again the next step, again the relaxation. You will try to overcome. But remember just one thing: it will not happen in 1 or 2 sessions. It will take a number of sessions, because you have to make fear is not just simple thing that it goes out of the mind immediately. It takes some time, because it's a kind of because we are working on the disorders, right? We are working on anxiety, we are working on fear or phobia, we are working on OCD. So it takes time for the clients to overcome those challenges, but this is the steps.
Yeah. But I
Got
have a
it?
question
Systematic.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do okay, when you spoke about relaxation, right? So what kind of techniques is used? How do I relax a client?
You can use the progressive relaxation techniques, you can use sound healing techniques, you can use music, you can use meditation, or you can use mindfulness. There are so many relaxation techniques. How whatever the client, how you if you depending on the client or depending on the therapist, you can use any kind of relaxation technique. The one
Okay.
thing is, you have to teach this relaxation technique to the client, because
Mhm.
this training is not only being under the guidance of the therapist, but the client has to be implemented on his own, even at home. So whenever he
This
has that anxiety,
the simple technique according to me relaxation that normally anywhere we can use and teach the client is belly breathing. That helps very easy and
huh,
he can do it anywhere, anytime, and it will be fast also, very fast also.
it,
Normally, deep relaxation requires lot of time. It requires minimum 15 to 20 minutes to get totally relaxed. In case of belly
even
breathing, three to 10 rounds of deep belly breathing, person normally gets calm. He can do it anywhere.
Okay.
that can also be done, or it can be sound healing also.
uh,
So there are
uh,
different kind of sounds. So the
yeah,
sound healing, if they turn on the sound itself,
yeah,
if they're
yeah,
not able to breathe very new, if
yeah,
they don't want to
yeah,
practice that breathing steps, sound
yeah,
healing is there, music
yeah,
healing is there, Zen
yeah,
meditation is there. There are a lot of things.
yeah.
So you
So will that
can
be also
use
covered,
in.
ma'am? Because relaxation technique, I mean, I'm sorry, will this also be
Mhm.
covered in this class, PPP workshop?
No. Relaxation technique is not being covered. Maybe in the mindfulness therapy we can be covered. I'll show you.
Okay.
We
Okay.
have one more therapy, mindfulness therapy. That is also a relaxation therapy.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
show it there. Okay. And this is flooding. So we are talking about flooding now. So in this technique, this is also very similar to desensitization, but here we are focusing mainly on the patient, like on the fear situation. We are encouraging to remain the client to be in touch with the fear instead of avoiding. Most of the times, whenever the client is having a fear, they start avoiding the situation. They start avoidance, right? In order to stop that flooding, most of the time, this technique will be used to more focus on experiencing in the real life. For example, um, let's think water, fear of water. The most of the people have the fear of water, so they don't get into the water like rivers or just for fun. They just or for the swimming, right? to overcome that fear, we make the client, they start avoiding the water, right? To overcome that fear, we use this technique to remain in contact with that fear. So we make the client to go, and slowly, step by step, we make the client to be in touch with that fear. Just like we teach swimming. So what is the first step we use in swimming? Have anyone trained for swimming?
Get into the water is
Yes,
the first
ma'am.
step.
Yes, first step was the put yourself inside the water up till the neck. Your
They
t-shirt will be
they
get wet
the
till chin area.
mm-hmm. Acha,
That
teen area. The
chin
first
chin
step that chin area.
reach
Okay.
chin area. Whole neck
The first step
is
the
at the
trainer
water.
will do.
Yeah.
The first step the trainer will what the trainer will do. He just leave anyone in the water to overcome the fear. He will not hold it. Either he will push or he will dip into the water to overcome the fear. So that the person has to experience that feeling that nothing will happen if he goes deep into the water. He can come out, he can come back, he can struggle, he can learn. So that is the process. So when you are learning the swimming, that is the first step the client trainer will do for the child or any adult. So being in touch instead of avoiding the situation, we are making the client to be in touch in reality basis, right? It is very similar like systematic desensitization, but there we are doing step by step. But here in real life, we are making it possible. So if I take the same example of the client of the child who is having a fear, right? Stage fear. We are making the client instead of imagination, we are making the client to face the situation at that moment. Same step by step. We are preparing the hierarchy construction, but we are making the child to face that situation step by step. That is the difference, right? And the third technique is aversion technique. In this a little bit of pain and punishment technique. This technique will be used to strengthen and it will be weakened sometimes. Most of the times, this technique will be used for smoking or some addictions, aversion therapy, by giving some electric shocks or giving them some kind of other therapies. Or we can also use for unhealthy eating habits. So mainly this classical conditioning is, as I said, right? Repetitive behavior will create a conditional response. So how this repetitive behavior creates a conditional response here? For example, let me say, uh, if I say in the psychological terms, the first thing is Q. Q is nothing but your situation. The next thing is your trigger. I mean, a trigger. And third is your emotion. And fourth is your behavior. So when there is a situation, for example, you got a headache, that is your situation. So you felt to have a cup of tea to overcome the headache. And then you felt it is you're getting some kind of relax. So your headache has little bit reduced. So you felt you have given a positive reward to your brain. So your brain receives the positive reward always in rather than negative. So the positive reward has received by the brain, and the next time whenever you get headache, your brain says, come on, let's have a cup of tea. So then again you will go and have that tea. Again your head gets reduced. Again your brain receives a reward. So this is a cycle. So here, situation, your reward system, your repeated behavior, it becomes a habit. It's a cycle. So there's a very, when you are doing a repeated, it becomes a conditional response. So automatically, whenever you feel headache, you want a cup of tea. In the classical conditioning is the same way, right? When you are doing it repeated, it happens. This is the same way, smoking and drinking, such kind of addiction type. Always this there will be some kind of punishment this in this aversion technique, giving an electric shocks or a substance that induce vomitings or corporal punishments or social disapproval. All these techniques are being used in the aversion therapy.
But as a psychotherapist, we can't do all these things, right? Like electric shocks.
No, we can't. We can use only social disapproval, corporal punishments, but being as a therapist, we can't do this. Aversion therapy under the guidance of a psychiatrist.
What is social, disapproval and corporal punishment?
Corporal punishment we use in the companies, right? Like
No, as a therapist, how do we use that?
we can't use this aversion therapy directly as a therapist. This is one of the technique, but it can be used under the guidance of a psychiatrist or clinical psychologist, because in here we are using some kind of medications over here, all these things. And punishment is corporal punishment is like dismissing. Right? Here we are talking about a behavior change. It's not only a therapist. Anyone can use this kind of techniques, right? A reward system. A therapist is not using this. A company is also using this reward systems, right? So corporal punishment is some kind of punishments where the corporates can use to change to become to bring a change in the behavior, right?
Mhm.
Social
And social
disapproval is
disapproval?
avoidance,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
this can be used as we discussed, right? A token system or lunch tokens or gift cards. Therapist is not giving this. As I said, the behavior therapy is an action based. Some techniques are being used by a therapist. Some techniques are used for a change in behavior even in the corporates. So this behavior technique can be used by anyone, but only for few techniques. Even for, if as I said, in the classical conditioning we have memory techniques also, because classical conditioning has given you a lot of learning techniques. So it's not only for the behavior change, we can also use for learning also. So memory skills
Okay.
will be taught for the students in the schools,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And this is the biofeedback technique,
Which
and
are
this
the
is also
food
used.
items? Which are the food items that can be used for that?
Food items, like if you see for the drinking and smoking habits, we use some kind of substance uh, which creates them to puke, like vomiting, which creates a vomiting, so that they will stop drinking. Officially we can't use that. It's under the guidance
Okay.
of doctor, right? We can't do that. And even this biofeedback technique is also under the guidance of doctor. And why we are talking about aversion biofeedback? Because some techniques has to be used under medication. Some disorders has to be done under the guidance of a doctor. So even though the client is using medications, we have to a therapist has to implement techniques over the client. So the medications will be given by the doctor, and we use other kind of techniques to overcome that anxiety. Right? That is the problem. So recently, I have a case. The client who is having an OCD. So OCD on it's not an OCD also. It's a kind of OCD. Um, he has the problem of cleanliness. Because of that, he has an issue of fear of health anxiety, right? So he needs psychiatric medication. So he has that fear right from the childhood, but never recognized it. And now it became like a very severe condition, and where he need that. And doctor itself has prescribed the client that along with the medication, he need some therapist who can implement few techniques for his behavioral change, as well as some thought process change. So the doctor itself, he said, I can give you only medication. So you need some therapist or a trainer who can use some therapies over you to overcome those fears. So here itself, you can understand, along with the medication, a therapist has to be there to overcome the thought process and behavior, right? That's the reason we are discussing these techniques, because you should be understand you should be in a position to understand what kind of technique the doctor is using. So you know that aversion therapy, but doctor is using those shock therapies and all those techniques, and if you are not aware of aversion therapy, you will not understand what the doctor is doing,
Ma'am, for
right? Why the
aversion therapy in rural areas, even though they are not trained in psychology, I share it is not out of context here. Very interesting how aversion therapy is used. Normally, the kids, small children, when they have to give up their breastfeeding, no, some of the children, even at the age of 3, also they don't. They force mothers
right,
to feed them. So I have seen in rural areas the mothers they apply a particular type of
particular type, yeah,
paste to their nipples so
bitter
that
in
the
taste, so
child
that
when
the child will
bitter
not,
in taste, the child immediately will read.
the
Sometimes
child
they
will
do
not
it,
take
the
that milk,
child will not. That is
right?
how they make the children to leave that habit of sucking. That is
True,
what
true,
I
true, true.
observed.
Right. But this is also one of the steps. Thank you so much, Sridhar. So this is also one kind of, because this is a kind of punishment for the child.
Yeah,
So to
yeah,
avoid that breastfeeding,
yeah.
right?
So
So
age
that could be
appropriate behavior, how to learn. That is one of the technique to teach them.
right. So in this technique, we use the punishment process. So in the systematic desensitization and flooding, all those are reinforcement. But in aversion and biofeedback is like we are giving a little bit of punishment to bring a change in the behavior, right? Any doubts?
Yes.
Juhi, Agrima,
No, no, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Amira?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So biofeedback is again a technique which are being used even by the doctors here. It's kind of an we can say it's an other kind of internal medicine. We can say it's an internal medicine here. So here also we use some kind of signals from our own body to overcome the challenge of the client. So here we use in this biofeedback is an alternative body therapy, we can call it as. Here we use our own body signals to improve our own health. So if you see here, the physical therapist use biofeedback to help stroke victims regain movement in paralyzed muscles. And psychologists use it to help tense and anxiety clients learn to relax. So in this biofeedback, there are many specialists used in the different fields to cope up their pain. So that is biofeedback. We use our own body signals. We can say it's an alternative medicine. There will be few techniques like acupuncture or some other kind of medication therapies where we help the client to reduce their pain. So that in that way, we make the client to relax and then reduce the pain. This is kind of alternative medication, medicine, right? Yamini, you're in dilemma?
No, even the
No.
biomedical thing that we cannot help to do as a therapist.
We can make the client see how we can use this mind body therapy. Simple word. So mind body therapy. Being as a therapist, you can use this mind body therapy. So what is mind body therapy? You will relax
Yes.
using relaxation therapy with the client. to reduce his pain, right? Using his own body signals. I mean, what is his body signals? Your body always gives some signals. It can, depending on the situation or the event. If you are in the, if you are having a challenge, your body releases negative energy, negative signals. And if you are in good mood, your body releases positive energy, right? So you will make the client relax and change that negative energy into positive energy. How do you
How do I
do
do
that?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do you do that? So we can do that through using all the techniques, whatever we have discussed till now. Either you can use relaxation technique. The most of the sessions, why we are talking about relaxation technique, which we are going to discuss in the further sessions, mindfulness therapy. That is the most technique we are using nowadays in all kind of healing process. That is playing a major role nowadays. And that mindfulness technique is nothing but relaxation technique, right? That is helping the client to overcome the negative thought process, the pain relief, as well as a change in their behavior. How does it happen? Because very simple. Here we are using all the five senses. Your mind, your body will receive the information from all your five senses, and that communicate to your mind, and your mind process that information and communicate to you a message, right? So in the relaxation process, you will see what is the information is being processed, and that information is changed into positive in the mindfulness therapy. And this technique has been started in some around 60s or 70s, earlier in UK and USA. And now that time they use this technique, relaxation technique, in the rehabilitation centers. Why this technique has been used in the rehabilitation centers? So even this systematic desensitization and all these techniques are used in the mindfulness therapy also, because they just make the client to relax, imagine step by step, make the client feel that he is smoking or drinking on the step by step. They will make it on the reality base, right? So the same thing applies here. So in that process, the client even forgets the pain. He get relaxed. Got it, Emily?
Yeah.
So
So
unless until
basically,
you,
through
uh-huh,
the relaxation techniques, this can be attained.
most of the changes can be obtained through relaxation techniques. As I said, your body plays a major role in any kind of anxiety. Your body gives a lot of pain rather than your thought process. Your once your thought has been started, your body starts giving signals. It starts releasing some chemical hormones in your body, right? So though because of those hormones, your body gets lot of symptoms.
Normally, the
And
palpitation and sweating, these
anything,
are the
palpitation,
normal too.
sweating,
Yeah.
shivering, or body pains or
Yeah.
fever, immediately they get a head pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Unbearable pains will make the client, make the
Yeah.
challenge more intense level. The thought will
Yeah.
be this much, only 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
But the physical symptoms will be dominating your thought process.
So somatization takes place there.
Right. Those body symptoms, because of dominating those pain, the client will not be able to overcome. Even for example, your own example, if you imagine your own example, you said you went into depression, right? When you had a depression, your thought will be only once or twice, but your body symptoms will be more severe than your thought process. Can you relate that?
Yeah.
You will have body heart palpitations or shivering, or you are unable to sit at one position. You used to move here and there. You will not get sleep. You'll be tired.
Yeah.
You'll be awake most of the time. All these are body symptoms, physical symptoms. And because of the tiredness, you'll keep on thinking the same. You'll go to the past, you'll go to the future, you'll relate all the things. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, recent times also, I think, yeah, last week, I think 2, 3 days before, I think I had a very, I mean, a kind of a bad fight at home. But then, however, that impacted me a lot because I actually, quickly sense this negative aura around me. If something is not going good, I can really able to capture that negative aura. So I slept by 2:30, and I had a very bad dream related to my parent. Like, I mean, touch wood, nothing like that. But then, like, as if in my dream, I'm getting a call that something happened to my mom, and I'm like yelling and shouting, "No, this can't happen!" And that was
Mm-hmm.
so loud that I cried it out so loud, and I screamed it out so loud that my husband came waking, and then what happened? Like, he was like shocked. I said nothing. I didn't know that it was like so loud. So that is also something, some kind of a suppression inside me, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Your body symptoms will be more than your thought process. And that body symptoms will be dominating. And using those signals and using those, whatever you said, the aura, right? Using that aura and using this relaxation techniques, that will be reduced. And if that is reduced, your thought process will be reduced. You will control your thoughts. So that is the steps. Actually, that is the reason the physical symptoms has to be observed being as a therapist. So what is that intensity level the client is having, right? I'm not sure. Am I right? What is the time now?
2 o'clock here.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Until what time we are having? It
We have
started at
no
12:30.
end time. We have only starting time 12:30. We don't have end time.
Now I have to ask the Somnath here. Somnath, what is the ending time?
Ma'am, before 3 you can finish.
Okay. Then I have to think. I think I have to make my sessions 2 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the apparent conditions. So as I said, this technique is used with the reinforcement and punishment, as well as the modeling also comes under this operant condition. So as we discussed, token economics, shaping, timeout, pre-mark principle, and contingency management, all these are the techniques. Token economics is nothing but, I'll share this one by one. Shaping is again a operant condition. Here is very similar like flooding and systematic desensitization. We use a reward system to overcome this challenge. So in this operant condition, to overcome the fear, we being as a therapist, you will use some kind of appraisal, or you will use some kind of rewards to the client to overcome this kind of phobias and obsession. So in the classical condition, you are not giving any rewards or anything. You are making the client to overcome through relaxation and imagination. In the imagination and facing the reality. But in the operant condition, using the same technique, here you are encouraging the client, giving a reward, right? Being as a therapist, you will make the client you will make the client encourage to shape himself through your appraisals, right? And contingency management. This technique is mostly used for the parents. So you will use this technique to make the parent, usually in the parental training. So in this training, we will make the parents to understand what kind of uh, rewards has to be given for the children to remove their unwanted behavior, right? That is contingency management. In this also the same thing. You will use the reward system, but here most of the thing here, rather than a therapist, being a therapist, you will train the parents here. because most of the parents will not use the reward system to change the behavior of the child. Most of the time they use punishments, right? And this is timed out. Nowadays, most of the people, even in India and US, it started in US first, and now in India also has been started. If a child is not listening to our words, if the child is not stopping that unwanted behavior, the child is being removed, right? They just put them in a dark room, or they just avoid the social disapproval. Like they will make the child to sit in one corner or sit in a separate room. So that is time out technique, right?
So will this
So
not
this,
hamper the child by doing this? Like
by doing
isolating the
this,
child? No, by isolating the child like this, will that not lead the child to the depression?
no, because nowadays, see, this has been started a very long back in other countries rather than India. In this technique will make the child understand that if we are doing anything wrong, we are being avoided by the social, I mean, by the other people. So we need to change this behavior.
Normally in
So
schools, small schools and all, when this is the student is
even in the
particularly kept out
classrooms,
of the class, they are kept out of the
even
class.
in the
They
classrooms,
made to stand
right?
outside the classroom and watch from there only, not to be in the class like that.
And that will make the child to understand that, okay, this behavior made me teacher has given me the punishment, the next time I should not repeat it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this technique is being used for that behavior. So this will help the child to understand, not only child, even for the adults also, they will understand this behavior will be given such kind of punishment. So we have to change our behavior.
So normally negative reinforcement is used here rather than
Right,
encouragement.
positive
Yeah.
encouragement.
Yeah.
And this is token economy. So in this token economy, as I said, rewards are being issued in the form of tokens. So, and
Right?
these tokens can, in the form of tokens. So, and these tokens can be exchanged after a month, let's think after a week or after a month, in the form of food or other reinforcement, as Sridhara said last in
Yeah.
his example, right?
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
token economies,
Yeah.
the food coupons. If a employee is having a full attendance, then he can collect all the tokens, and then he can collect the food coupons from the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a cash reward. So he can collect the tokens, and all the tokens he can be exchanged. Or it can, if you are using for the child, you can give them the tokens. Yes, this is the reward for you if you are having a good behavior, if you have done a good job. And all these tokens are being collected after a month, and you will say as a parent that you will be rewarded after I will collect all these tokens, keep it safe, and then I will reward it in the ways whatever the child likes. This is the token economy. This can be done in the corporates, even in the schools, even at home, for anyone.
Yeah.
And this is Primark principle. This is again a kind of reinforcement. Um, this is a old grandma principle. Can anyone tell me what is the old grandma principle here?
No idea. I never grew up with a grandma.
even even I didn't.
Yes, ma'am, it is very useful. They all are doing in everyday life.
Yeah, in everyday life we are
बस
all doing.
वो एक कहावत है
If
मैम, आप
somebody is
शायद
doing
सुनिए,
here,
पढ़ोगे लिखोगे तो बनोगे नवाब, खेलोगे कूदोगे तो होगे खराब. So first you
right.
learn and then you go for play.
If the child is not eating food, let's think that the child is not eating food, right? Then, being the grandma principle here, as I said, you have to eat the vegetables first, then I will offer you a dessert. Or if you're not liking the food, You have to eat little bit quantity, which you like, which you don't like, and have a you can eat a heavy food which you like. So add the food which you don't like as well as which you like. Mix it both and have it together. Usually what we do, always we teach the child not have to have only one kind of food. You have to eat this. But in the old principle, grandma's principle, they never did that. They used to add the favorite food along with their uh, whichever whatever the food they don't like. So then adding to that favorite food, the child will eat fast because that is being motivated for the child to have that food. So this principle can be used for a lot of things. For the not only for the children, even you can use for the procrastination. For the people who are having this procrastination, right? You can add this grandma principle. If you are not willing to do particular work, you can add one work which you are creates more interesting and being motivated. So that is the this is the grandma principle, Primark principle, right? This is the operant condition. And we know modeling. What is modeling? So modeling is always what children learn, or everybody learns from what we how we behave, and then they learn from that. So it can be live modeling, right? It can be symbolic modeling or systematic decentralization. Life modeling is, as we discussed, how we behave, the other people will learn the same way. Symbolic modeling is somebody like a film actress or a motivational speaker. There will be a symbolic modeling for us. So we learn from them. Like just as in the beginning of the session, we discussed about Pattabhiram. He is a symbolic modeling. We are learning from them, right? And as you said, systematic decentralization we discussed, right? With a deep relaxation, we are doing that modeling. Something there's no treatment at all for all these things. We always learn something where we can change our behavior or motivate our behavior, motivate ourselves, right? That is modeling. And this punishment. So we always deliver some kind of punishment as well to bring a change in the behavior. Not only rewards, in the operant condition, not only the rewards, we use the punishments also to modify a change in behavior, right?
Yeah.
And as we discussed, the therapist's main role and functions, as always, should be open-minded, right? Uh, Summarizing, reflecting, clarification is all the techniques we use in the counseling process. Whenever we are dealing with the client, it's always very important uh, to talk, to listen carefully, right? Use the Scholar model, listening skills, as well as summarize whatever the client is saying. Sometimes you need to paraphrase it, that you are listening whatever the client is saying, and sometimes we need to have a clarification with the client if you are not understanding anything. We need to use the open-ended questions to get more information. At sometimes it is very important to use closed-ended questions because the client keep on telling his own story. There is no stop, and we have to know where to stop the client and bring back to the present situation. So at that certain points, we need to use closed-ended questions, right? And be a role model to the client. These are the main functions of the therapist. Any doubts in this slide?
No,
This
ma'am.
therapist functions and role are common for all the therapies. We
The
have to use
Primac,
the listening skills.
the
Primark?
Primac principle, I do not understand.
Primark principle is nothing. We can, it's very simple. In simple terms, you can reward yourself with unwanted things with the favorite things, or
Like,
which you don't, you can add the things which you don't like with the liked things. For example, you don't like to have the greens in your food. You can use those greens adding a jaggery if you like sweet.
okay, okay,
So jaggery will is a sweet which helps you to eat that greens.
okay, got it. Yeah,
Sugar
Got
coated
it?
pills. Normally we say sugar coated pills.
So initial old grandmas, you never used to, they used to do in such a way. Nowadays, what we do, we have to eat only greens. We always say sugars are not good for the health, but it's just an example. But in our grandmas always, the older people, they say always, okay, eat whatever the food you like, more quantity. Whatever the food you don't like, you can have it a little quantity. But you have to eat both.
It was
Don't avoid it. You have to eat both. Use the combinations, but no, don't avoid it. That is a prima principle.
okay, okay,
Most of the time, to avoid, if there is a change in the behavior, people start avoiding. So to stop that avoiding, we use the combinations. So this technique can be used not only for the food, it can be used for procrastinations, many things. So instead of avoiding, use the combinations where you can get motivated to change your behavior.
okay.
That is prima principle, right? And this is one of the therapy which we use, multimodal therapy, even in the CBT as well as in behavior therapy also. This multimodal therapy, basically, we consider even the biological beings also, like using our five senses. How do we think, feel, act, and sense? And how do we interact with the environment? So to remember this multimodal therapy, the acronym called as BASIC ID. These are the 7 major areas are being divided, right? The approach the common personality of a human being. So this therapy can be used even for the behavioral change as well as cognitive change, because here we are using the personality of human beings also. If you see here, basic ID, what is B is behavior, A is affective responses, S is sensations, I is images, C cognitions, I interpersonal relationships, D is for drugs, biological functions, nutrition, and exercise. So being as a therapist, if it comes to the behavior, you need to ask the client, what would you like to change? What specific behaviors keep you from getting what you want? So why this is being used to refer to over the behaviors or habits or reactions that are observable and measurable. So you can ask the client while you're using this multimodal therapy, these questions can be asked for the behavior part. So what would you like to change? So what is the main goal of the client? So what behaviors are making him to not to achieve his goal, right? What is affective responses? Like refers to his moods or emotions or strong feelings. That is affective responses. So what emotions are problematic for them? So we need to identify in the multimodal therapy, what are those behaviors that's stopping them to change, and what are their effective responses, and what are those sensations, like as I said, physical symptoms. What are those symptoms which is avoiding their feelings, which are making them to suffer, and images, how do you view your body? Just one simple question. So you need to ask the client, how do they imagine themselves, or how do they imagine the situation? What kind of images it rises in their mind, as we use in the dream analysis, right? Those are the images. So the first part is behavior. You need to see what kind of behavior is a problematic behavior and what is stopping them to change that behavior. And the effective response is what is those emotions or strong feelings affecting them. And what are those five senses? Which one is more painful? Is it touch, taste, or smell, or sight, or hearing? And images. What are those pictures? What are those memories making them problematic in their problematic in their issues, right? And C is for cognitives. Here, how do your thoughts affect your emotions? It's a step by step. If you see here, there's a body symptoms. Sorry. If you see here, there's a body symptoms. There are emotions, feelings, pictures, and then we are coming to thoughts, step by step. So here you are using your thoughts and how those thoughts are adding values and beliefs for those thoughts, right? And then interpersonal relationships. So here we are talking about environmental, social learning. We're including here social behavior. So to what level do they have intimacy with other people? What are their expectations? So you are identifying all the areas of the client. And D is your drugs, biological functions, nutrition, and exercises. Or they're health conscious? Do they have any concerns on their health? What are their eating habits? Or what are the drugs they use? So all these are areas are being covered in the multimodal therapy. So while you're taking the analysis, you have to cover all these basic ID, right?
Okay.
Ma'am, there is a one RDI method also. That is interpersonal relationship. That is the same thing. RDI method.
What can you repeat again, Rashita?
That is a RDI method is used in ADHD child. That is a interpersonal relationships. That is they are telling that this thing. It is the same thing. That
Audio
relationship.
method.
RDI, relationship
Or
developmental integration. That is relationships
Uh,
developmental methods.
I'm not aware of it, Darshita. I know I didn't heard about it.
Yes. Okay, I will come back to you with specific about that term.
Okay, okay, yeah, sure. Right, and these are the contributions of behavior therapy. So we use a wide variety of specific techniques, right? And these behavior techniques can be extended to more areas which are affecting the human functioning in the in the therapeutic approaches. So the main agenda is if they are affecting their human functioning, right? And these behaviors is, as I said, it's an action based. These techniques are being used mostly on action based. For example, if the progress is not being made, then it has to be carefully analyzed and prepare a treatment plan in this behavior therapy. So if you are using any kind of technique and if there is no change in the client's behavior, right, then you have to do a lot of research on the child. Then you have to go for the past history. The research has to be done, and then original analysis you have to do, and then prepare a treatment plan, right?
Um, Narcissism is a condition which can be cured in behavior therapy.
It's a personality disorder, right? That can be used using a schema therapy.
Okay, but people say that that's an attribute, that's a trait in a person.
That's what I'm saying. We can use it
It
in
isn't a
schema therapy.
disorder. Okay, schema therapy. So
Hmm.
what do we do in the schema therapy?
We learn. It's the lab
Okay,
therapy.
okay, okay.
It's an extended form of extended therapy of cognitive.
Okay, that is something which can be cured.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you will learn few more techniques. Schema. So what I suggest to you, like let me complete this and then these are the limitations. So in the behavior therapy, the client will not, we will not able to provide any insight for the client, right? The client does not provide any insight. Like the client will not able to understand what exactly the problem is, nor there will be any symptoms, or we can treat only symptoms then causes, right? Involves mostly involves manipulations and control by therapist, right? Behavioral therapy may change behaviors but not feelings, right? That is the main limitation here. So these are the overall discussions whatever we have done till now. So the main problem is maladaptive behavior can be changed by use three methods: classical, operant, social learning approach, and cognitive therapy approach. Main aim is to extension of maladaptive behavior or relearning it, right? These are the main aim of the therapies. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Juhi is in workplace, but what happened to Agirima and Amira? You people are silent.
This social learning and cognitive behavior we learn in the next sessions.
Cognitive you will learn in the next session. Social learning theory we already learned in some of the techniques, whatever we
Yeah.
have
Yes,
discussed till
modeling,
now.
modeling. Huh?
Modeling is a social learning also, right? So we covered social learning also, but I didn't mention the separate folder. But we covered three approaches: operant, classical, and social. We covered three disciplines. Cognitive we will learn later. Right? You're on mute. Yeah. So overall, what I would suggest in my overall experience is whatever the techniques you are learning in all the therapies is like mix and match. It is not that you will use only one technique for a particular challenge. It's a mix and match. You will combine all the techniques. Sometimes if you are starting with one technique, you will end up with some other technique. So you'll just put everything in a grinder, you'll mix it to bring a change. So it depends on the challenge of the client, issue of the client, what kind of uh, challenge the client is facing. And depending on the situation, every time you need to change the technique.
Yeah.
That's what I believe actually. So being as a, like I learned all these therapies as well as other therapies also, but still I mix everything. But if you want a specialization, then you need to go for advanced level. But if you want used to being as a therapist, if you want a different techniques, we can use all these techniques. If you want to be a practitioner, then you have to go for advanced level.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how was the class today? So are you able to follow it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're able to follow it, but just that, we have to complete the assignments for it to practically implement. How do we see in actual situation?
You are already doing it, Yamini, but you are a little bit confused because you're learning it in the other terminology.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it. You're doing it already in your real life, but we don't know how we implement it. I mean, what kind of technique it is.
Right. Right.
Yes, because I'm not sure are you married or not, but if you are a parent, you will always use a reinforcement with the children.
Okay. No, not
Use
a
different
parent.
ways. You
Have
are
to
not
use
a
it on
parent,
my
then
husband.
okay, fine. So you are using it on your husband or in the corporate sector, right? We use these techniques. But the thing is, like, if you're having a very intensity level as a therapist, like if you're dealing with anxiety problems or OCD or phobias, then you have to be very careful. For just a behavioral change, it's common. We use a lot of rewards. We use operant condition mostly in our day-to-day life. Well, the classical conditioning comes under again a little bit different aspect. It comes under for the therapist. Because it's a learning process.
Right.
So that's about right.
Yeah.
And that I learned. I think everybody has learned from the classical conditioning. As I said, I have a fear of holding a mic and talking in front of the audience. So
Yeah.
that is the biggest challenge. Even now, that is the biggest challenge. I always ask the people that I use a big tone, but don't give me the mic. On the stages, I just ask them, no, don't give me the mic. I'll just stand in front of the audience. Even Amira, you are also the same.
For this audience speaking, that problem people face, normally in our training setup, I used to use it for our managers how to speak. Normally the podium will be there, no? That is the best protection they have. First, they should know how to stand behind the podium. And some body language they should understand.
Always the
Suppose
body
they use
language.
blackboard or anything, if they use blackboard or anything for writing or anything, always remember not to show your back to the audience. Right
This
on
is
the cross side.
one of the
Don't show.
most important technique which we need to implement in the training process. Never show your back.
Yeah.
Not only the training, even in the
Yeah.
classroom,
Yeah.
the teacher will be trained not to show their back for the children.
Show their back. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the
I had
most
RBI
important
training
technique.
when I was trained in this one. We had a videograph of our class, and then they will show it separate and what are the mistakes we have done. They have to say in the classroom also when we move, no, we should not turn back and come. We have to come on back steps only and come back to the stage. That is how we are trained. And
Right.
normally when you have a fear of facing audience, the first thing is when you go to the podium, first take 3 long breathe without making others to understand, and see the corner of the audience first, not the front seat. See the last seat who is sitting there. Put your eye on the back side and slowly move your eyes from there to one by one, one by one, one by one, and see the front side. Normally front side VIPs will be sitting. You see them on the last.
But can anyone tell me why we should focus on the last audience but not on the front audience?
I exactly can't make out, but that will help. That will help. That is what I understood. Seeing on the last audience and then coming to, so that it is, you told, no, grading, that hierarchy. That hierarchy steps we
Yes.
use there.
No, keep it
Right,
very
here
simple,
two
right?
things.
Keep it very simple. Front audience will be direct eye to eye. So we get distracted. Last, it will be like little blurred, so we'll not be distracted.
Right. And there are two principles. The one thing, if you see here, the vision will be strained if you are seeing the front audience.
Okay.
Because if you see the focal length of your eye, the focal length of your eye will be for the longer distance. If you go longer, it will be very easier. If it is very shorter, it will be very tough, according to physics.
Yeah.
And if you see the psychological aspect, right? If you see the psychological aspect, everybody has a view in their mind. The front seaters, I mean, the front audience will be always having a high knowledge and very high respectable people. And we have that fear and phobia in our mind, and we never
Focusing
make
on
an
them
eye
and
contact with
confronting
them.
them. Yeah.
Confronting them, we
Yeah.
can't make an eye contact with them. And the
Yeah.
people who sits in the last row, they don't have enough knowledge, they don't pay attention. That's the mindset we have usually.
Yeah.
But if you see, but there is a proverb, right? The last benchers or the last bench children, they always have a good public speaking and boldness.
Yeah.
And why do they have that? Because most of the children or most of the people, and especially in the classroom, the teacher has to focus. They will be trained. Most of the children, I mean, most of the teachers has to be focused. The children who are sitting in the middle rows, not on the front or not on the back, because middle row children are more cunning children. They never focus. they will start deviating here and there, here and there. And that is also a problem for the trainer, even for the teacher who are sitting in the middle rows, because the focal length will be either in the straight or in the deviation, but it not be in the middle level. So the eye vision, that is a problem. Again, if you look at the physics, that's the reason nobody can be focused on the middle area. And that's the reason they get deviated. And the last children, they feel the teacher is not saying at me and they become more active. And the front children, they will be more protective and they become introvert because they feel like teacher is observing us.
Yeah.
So that's the reason they will be more focused. That's the logic. That's the way that teachers are being trained in such a way to focus more. But the middle rows children are more cunning children.
Mischievous.
They easily get deviated.
Mischievous.
Yeah. So I mean, now I think you got it, right?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So tomorrow we will come up with CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. All right.
No assignments today?
No assignments. From today, there's no assignments for you. It's
That
all
earlier assignment itself not attended. We need time to attend that. We have
from behavior technique to the last technique, you will not have homeworks.
That we have homework, old homework only we need to complete now.
Because why till psychodynamic? The first thing, you need to identify your own problem, right? And then you need to implement on yourself, and then you need to prepare a case format.
Yeah.
So these are the main important steps. Once you prepare a case format and therapeutic alliances, like what is the short-term plan, action plan, or long-term action plan, that's it. After that, you will use the techniques. It's up to you whatever the techniques you use it. So that's the way how I planned till psychodynamic, the homework part. After that, there's no homeworks. It's all your techniques.
Good. Good.
Right.
So everybody is happy today. No homework.
No homeworks.
But we have to go through
Really?
whatever you have to. I mean, are
Yeah,
there the
but I
recording
sincerely
sessions?
request go through for the psychodynamic, because case format has to be prepared. It's very important to prepare a treatment plan.
Yeah.
So that is
Is
very
it possible
important.
to get the recording of the classes?
It's possible. I'm not sure. I think you are attending the class, right? So I think it's not possible. Somna, is it possible? Are you there?
The man didn't get you. Can you repeat?
Can we
She
get
want
the
recording.
Recording for
Last-
which session?
This
No, for all
particular
the
session,
sessions.
all sessions
Yeah.
that we have.
Because again, I have to go through and prepare notes and then come back, right? So what has been I've understood.
For all session we cannot give it, but recording
all the
only for the emergency, like if we are not able to attend it. So that's why we provide recording. But somehow we can help for one class, or we can manage it. So you can contact the academic counselor.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would say, I mean, this is my personal suggestion that if you go through the recording again, compare with the notes, it will be another refresher for us.
Definitely,
Because
we'll
week
suggest this. We'll suggest this to our concern team. So we'll
especially the
try to figure it.
psychodynamics and psychoanalytics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can ask the particular thing, because once if you listen to the entire recordings again and again, it will be confusion. It will be confused again. So whatever the topic you are having a doubt, right? You are not confident. Then if you go with that recording, that will be helpful for you. It's my own suggestion. It's up to you. But what I feel is the same thing. Because if you see the repeated recordings again and again, what you heard in the live session and what you will listen in the recording will be different again. It will be confused because you will not able to recap. That will be erased. So it's better to listen to the class which you're not confident. Right? Okay, guys, then take care. We'll meet you tomorrow again.
Okay. Okay.
No,
See you, and
Somna
have a
got
good sleep.
habituated of making the
Extending.
sessions like extending a session for my session for 2 hours.
No problem, ma'am. I can sit for 5 hours also.
No, Somnath. You got habituated of funny sessions will be always extended for 2 hours. And you made it in such a way.
So, madam, payment may be less. For one session, you have to two
I'm
sessions. You have
not
to
worried about the payment actually. I'm enjoying this because I'm getting a lot of people to interact. If, I don't want to say as a student because even I'm a student over here, so I don't want to say that. So I'm getting a lot of people to get interact with them to learn more from you people. So that's a good, very good experience for me.
Yeah.
But for them, like they has to manage the classes, right? If after my class, there will be some other class. They'll
Yeah.
be using the same Zoom link. That's what I'm saying. So he got
creates little problem.
habituated.
Yeah, we
That
are
creates
in
a
the
problem for them.
beginning we could not get the connection, no? We are delayed by
Yeah,
about
that's what the
yeah,
problem.
the
So now
another session
Somnath
was
got
going on.
habituated.
Yeah, another
So
session
if
was
funny
going.
session is there, half an hour time gap should be there.
No, ma'am, it's not like that. People, once the people are enjoying, and the time we are spending, it's a quality time, we can say. So
Yeah.
quality time will be spend hours and hours. No problem.
Yeah, definitely it
Yeah,
was a
that's
quality time. It is a quality time. It
Because
is
we are also
that's
learning.
true.
yeah. Yeah.
That's true, but still we are conducting so many courses, right? So we need that time
See,
allocating and everything.
even though it is online, we should we are not feeling like online. We are enjoying these sessions like offline. That is the most important. That environment is being created. I had to thank ICS for that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much
much.
for your
Yeah.
feedbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, then see you tomorrow then.
Okay, then see you tomorrow. Then take
Okay.
care. Bye bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.